Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
First show with the new sponsor intro on there. We got a little intro going.
I like it.
We'll see. Maybe we'll get some updates to it in the future if we get some more sponsors. But right now, we have to thank Cardboard Legacy because we are officially now into 2024. Our first show of 2024, and Cardboard Legacy is our new sponsor. So we are very excited for that. We're thankful to have them on, and Nick is awesome. Nick is the owner at Cardboard Legacy. He's a great dude to work with, and we'll actually be at one of his shows in about a week and a half on the 13th. So that'll be at the Herd Arena, which we're looking forward to that because we're going to be right on the floor at the Herd Arena, which is cool. So,
yeah, I do have to say that Nick is my second favorite person that works there. Riley is definitely number one. We have some great basketball conversations. The conversation just flows. We could probably talk for 8 hours about just basketball and concepts and
I'm sure we will one of these days. We're going to do a show with them. So
we will. And that's going to be a long episode, dude, because the conversation just flows. They're both great. But for me, I pick Riley over Nick. I don't know how Nick will feel about that.
You better hope he doesn't see that.
We'll see. I'm just kidding, Nick.
All right. So before we jump into college football, Jake and I want to make an announcement. If you've seen already, we've announced that we are both approved for media credentials for the Senior Bowl. It's a really, really big deal for us. We're really excited for it. We're leaving at the end of the month. And Jake and I, in an effort to try to raise some funds for ourselves to kind of help with our trip, we are going to do a 50-50 raffle. So It's going to be $5 a ticket or $5 for $20. If you want to, you can message myself, Jake, or the show account. And we are doing some virtuals, and then you'll get some ticket numbers. And then we're going to announce that on January 24th. We're doing a 50-50 raffle. Again, it's to help Jake and I fund our trip to the Senior Bowl. It's something that it's a momentum builder for the future for what Jake and I really hope to do with this show, which is to make this show our full-time jobs and to build momentum for that. So we are really looking forward to it, and it's a really big opportunity for us. And we're just asking if anybody feels so inclined to get in on a 50-50 raffle and help us build a little bit of funds for our trip. And we would really appreciate anybody that participates. So again, just want to start the show off with that before we get into some sports here.
Well, I just want to add a little something into that. I mean, everybody has their New Year's resolutions right now, right? So maybe your New Year's resolution is to help somebody this year, and you can help Wisco Fanatics, make some great memories down in Alabama, and push us towards our dream. Like Tyler said, we're giving you guys great content right now. We're diving deep into the stats. Imagine what we could do with 8 hours a day, every day, just looking at sports and watching games every single day and dissecting every single thing in every game. So this is one of those big first steps. So help a couple of brothers out. You know what I'm saying?
All righty. That said, we're going to jump into the Badgers bowl game recap now. So here's the thing. We talked about this last week going into it, that there wasn't a ton to really take away from the year's stats because there was so much turnover on the roster with guys transferring and guys getting ready for the draft. Now, again, it's going to be the same thing as we come out of it in the recap part of it. So looking at it from the recap part of it, as opposed to looking at all the guys that aren't going to be on the team next year, what we are doing is we're going to go through some position groups, and we're going to just take what we saw from those position groups and then some players that we are excited to watch next year based on those performances. So jumping into some stars of the game, Mike has our offensive star of the game.
Yeah, so first off, Happy New Year, everybody. Happy to be a part of the show in 2024. Looking forward to a lot of good things for this year. And win ourselves a Big Ten championship here soon enough. But anyway, our offensive player of the game got sent off on the right note here. I feel like, even though he did take a loss, I got Tanner Mordecai. We got to see glimpses of what the real air raid looks like in this game.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this dude was just absolutely slinging it. I was so pumped for him because if there's one guy that deserved a day like this, it was Tanner. Plays his butt off every single time, good or bad. So he went 27 of 40, 378 yards, 3 touchdowns. 8 different receivers. So, I mean, or 8 different pass catchers, I should say. So, obviously, he was wheeling, dealing, spreading the ball around. Had a couple of real nice deep balls. Even in the beginning, even in the third quarter. He was just dishing it and doing it all. So, and he didn't need to do too much on his feet either, which is kind of opposite of what he was doing during the actual regular season. So, end of the day, it sucks that he had to take a loss here, but no, we got to, he's at least got some film for, for potential NFL teams looking at him. He's got this game to at least, look back on going forward. So, no, Tanner had a game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the air raid, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. For me, on defense, I went with Ricardo Hallman. Between Ricardo Hallman or Hunter Wohler, it was the only two that were in consideration. And Ricardo Hallman, being the ball hawk that he is, I love Ricardo Hallman. He's a stud. And I love that I have like a whole thread of tweets that I can just keep retweeting and reposting from all the way back to October to say, stop throwing at Ricardo Hallman. And the Badgers opponents have not learned it yet. So, it's Ricardo Hallman. If you throw it near him, he's coming down with it. So Jake got to pick the underrated performer. So I'm curious as to who you went with.
There's a couple different guys you could pick from, especially on the offensive end. There's a couple wide receivers. There's a running back that comes to mind. I feel like Jackson Aker could have had a bigger game if they would have used him correctly, in my opinion. Also, if we would have continued to run the ball, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But underrated performer, I'm going to pick Bryson Green. I mean, everybody kind of overlooked him. He was Tyler's guy early in the season. And, during the season, it was kind of just all Will Pauling. I mean, he led all Division I believe it was, in first downs on third down receptions. I believe he got close to 30, right? I believe it was like 27 or 28. I know he came into the game with 25, so I'm wondering if he got one or two of them in the game. But, he's going to be a big-time player. Don't sleep on Will Pauling. He's absolutely everything. But I believe that Bryson Green, he could be that true X wide receiver that this Badgers offense was missing. And Mikey brought up that Mordecai wasn't using his legs as much. I believe that's a good thing because the offensive line was blocking better. Also, it allowed the air raid to actually look like the air raid, right? So yes. It was nice to see. It also leaves you with a lot of what ifs, though, and I hate what ifs. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, what if he never got hurt? What if he had an extra year in this offense? You know what I mean? I hate what ifs, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So we can talk about it. We each have one position group on each side of the ball. So let's do offense first. Mike, what position group on the offense are you excited for in 2024?
So I got quarterback. It's not every day. And the player that I liked, obviously Tanner. 6-3 as a starter. Is it the greatest? No. But obviously the stats weren't on par for what we all thought he was going to be this year. 2,065 yards, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, but he bailed. He had over 300 rushing yards. And I mean, we've talked about it before, how many times he's bailed us out in the past with his feet, whether on third down too specifically. So, I'm definitely going to miss him because he's just, what more can you ask for with him? He's just a straight up competitor. Longo has said it. Longo has said it a few times that he wishes he had one more year with them. I wish we had one more year with them as well. Just how he, directs himself to people too, whether that's in interviews or how he, expresses himself around his teammates too. It's just a guy that you want around you because he's only going to make you better. And just from a positivity standpoint as well. So definitely going to miss him. I am very excited about, we can talk about Tyler Van Dyke for sure. 3-year starter from Miami coming to Wisconsin next year. He was highly recruited to Wisconsin during the Christ administration, so to speak. So there is some familiarity with him. 3-year starter at Miami, 7,478 yards passing, 54 touchdowns and 23 interceptions. So, at the end of the day, this guy has no problem slinging the ball. And, obviously that's that's what the air raid calls for. So big body too. It's kind of different. Different in comparison to what Tanner's size was. I mean, Van Dyke's 6'4", 230. And when you watch his clips, there are times when he scrambles and has run for first downs too. So I know at first it's like a big body, pocket passer, but I think we are going to see some circumstances where he does have to run. And I'm looking forward to seeing him. And even on top of that, I mean, he's not guaranteed the starting job this year, which brings me to my next point. I'm looking forward to the quarterback competition. Because I think this next season, whether it's in spring practice or in the fall, I think this is going to be the time where we need to hear at least Nick Evers making strides, like making plays. And I know ultimately this job, I mean, Van Dyke, most likely he's going to be the starter. This really is going to come down to Evers versus Locke now for the next 2 years as to who's going to be that next guy in line. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully Nick Evers knows the playbook at least a little bit better now, so he can start actually competing, because he wasn't really in position to even, lick the field this year. So I'm looking forward to that QB battle. That's going to be, like I said, a 2-year process. We still got Cole LaCrue as well. We got maybe Matoyer coming in. So they're just stacking up quarterbacks, and a lot of which are from Texas too, which is something that 5 years ago we never even would have thought about. So that quarterback competition, I'm definitely looking forward to. It's only going to bring the best out of everybody at the end of the day. And it's something that it's worth keeping our eyes on for sure.
So the two guys that you talked about, the two main ones, obviously being Tanner Mordecai and Tyler Van Dyke. On Tanner Mordecai, did you guys see Luke Fickell talk about him in the postgame?
No.
I saw the clip. I don't remember. I can't remember everything off the top of my head, but go ahead.
So Luke Fickell was actually getting choked up talking about how he feels about Tanner Mordecai. What's up, James? Getting choked up how he feels about Tanner Mordecai. And the thing that he brought up, and you mentioned, it was a great game, James, and we'll get into a little bit more of that too. But Luke Fickell talking about Tanner Mordecai, talking about how tough he is to come back essentially 3.5 weeks after breaking his hand, and being, just a war dog just to go through that and come back from that as quickly as he did. And you can tell that Fickell really has, good feelings for Tanner Mordecai. Then on to Tyler Van Dyke, the guy of the future. And this is where, I'm sure Mike is going to talk about this too when we get into the specific players aspect of it. But the way that the air raid is and the strength that Tyler Van Dyke has is the deep ball. So seeing the Badgers slinging the ball all over the field, including vertically, that's like, oh, shit. Like, Tyler Van Dyke could thrive if he's just slinging the ball downfield. And I'll say what I said to you guys. I'm like, when you're looking at Tyler Van Dyke, a play style that he kind of reminds me of, and similar to his body size, is it kind of reminds me of Big Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep.
That's kind of how I feel about him. So that's kind of the way that I'm going to look for him to play. Brad asked what kind of NIL deal did Van Dyke get? I don't think we'll really ever know.
It's a good question. I know,
if you see him on TV or on a billboard, you'll see that, but I don't think we'll ever get official numbers on that, because I don't think they'll ever make that stuff public.
So I tried to look it up, and it says 706,000.
Okay. So I was
that's
so
basically that's like the guesstimate, the valuation.
It's probably a guess, but I mean, it has committed to Wisconsin on there. I'm not sure if it's
right
100% accurate,
like
but
an estimate.
Yeah.
So Matt Rule said that in a press conference one time while this was all going on, like the top quarterbacks are going for at least $1 million. So that are in the portal. So I know Van Dyke necessarily wasn't like a top 3, but I mean he's probably like top 10 or whatever. So
probably top 10, yeah.
That's actually pretty accurate, Jake. I'm willing to bet.
I mean, let's call a spade, right? You're going to try to get some college kid, right? You're going to get a college kid to move from Miami to Madison. I mean, you're going to have to fork out some dough.
Yeah.
And still, even the fact that he's willing to do that still says something.
It does. But
still the fit still has to be there.
But on Miami for a 22-year-old kid, I mean.
Right. But again, what this ends up boiling down to is the future. So, the difference between, Wisconsin and, say, Iowa, where, there's not going to be any good quarterback play coming out of there anytime soon. At least Wisconsin is changing that with their new coaching staff.
Yeah.
You're looking at who you are, potentially going to be able to grow into. So if Iowa offered him, say, $800,000 a year and the Badgers offered him $7 million, and you're looking at, okay, which one is going to maximize my future potential? The Badgers are starting to get that momentum, that ball rolling, where people are realizing, college athletes are realizing, like, hey, Wisconsin is going to be a place where I'm going to be able to build for the next level. And that is one of those most important things with Fickell, is it's going to be going towards that. Josh said, look who we play next year. That's absolutely the Badgers. The Badgers 2024 schedule is an absolute gauntlet.
Yeah.
Like a successful season could be 7 wins because of how stacked their schedule is next year. We'll see. But that said, Jake, what's a position group that you liked what you saw?
I actually really, really liked the running back group. Jackson Aker had 14 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown was monster, by the way. I was very happy for him. That's a 6.1 yard average. He had a 33 long. And then Yakimelli had 7 carries for 45 yards, no touchdowns. But he had a 21-yard rush, and he had a 6.4 yard average. And the thing that I kind of took away from this game, and I don't want to be part of the crowd that says run the ball, because that is who we used to be, right? Kill the clock. Now, I do think, this is just my quick little opinion on the game. I do think this was the first real taste of the air raid.
I agree.
This is what people were wanting to see from day one. But what people don't realize is Rome wasn't built in a day, right? It's clearly a saying for a reason.
Yep.
And I think that this is more what we're going to see. I mean, 21 carries, averaging over 6 yards a carry. I mean, you can't ask for much more, right? I mean, that's pretty crazy to get over half a first down every carry. So I really do like the spread offense. It just shows that a true number one wide receiver to take some of the action away from Will Pauling is big. I think a tight end that could elevate this offense would also be big. And I think Tyler Van Dyke, who is just a big person, would just absolutely put up big time stats. But the running back room was great. I think the offensive line played a lot better too. Shout out to Mike for letting us know about Jake Renfro pregame. He was fantastic.
Good. Dude, I loved it.
It would have been weird for me to take just centers, but I would have just for him because he was good.
Hey man, I'm a center. I grew up playing center, so if you would have done that, I would have been all for it.
I know. I was so sad I never got to play against you in high school. Would have been awesome. But he was better, and it made the whole offensive line better. You saw that, right? Until obviously the final drive when things kind of fell apart. But for the totality of the game, the offensive line was better. The run game was good. Do you want me to go players I'm excited for next year?
Or you want me we can. Yeah, do that. Let's do that, and then I'll go back to Mike for his before I give mine.
Okay. There was.
I mean, Mike kind of mentioned Tyler Van Dyke already, but yeah.
This was actually like a really hard decision for me, to be completely honest with you. We have a guy coming in from the transfer portal, and we also have a big time recruit coming into the running back room. And I was like, this guy, but this guy does this, and this guy does this, and one guy's 5'9", 216, and I'm like, that's a fucking truck.
That's Aaron Jones.
Yep.
That's literally Aaron Jones.
You're packing 216 pounds on a 5'9" frame. You're putting some muscle on there, dude.
Yeah.
But I went with Dylan Jones. He's in the ESPN top 300. He's number 125. He's the number 7 running back. He's 6 foot, 190 pounds. Now, I was going through stats and, I watched some clips and I was like, there's no way I can't pick Dylan Jones. By the way, he has the weirdest spelling of Dylan of all time. I mean that with all due respect. It's Dilin. And I was like, where is the O? There has to be one O in the name Dylan. That's just my opinion. But he played 6 games in 22-23. 6 games, only 6 games. He had 86 carries for 840 yards. He had 840 yards in 6 games. 9 yards per carry.
Jesus.
And he had 12 touchdowns. He had 5 100-plus yard games. Obviously, he had a lot of yards.
Right. Yeah.
Now, the one thing that I see that's a glaring issue, you're thinking about the air raid, you're thinking about the running back position. They have to be able to catch the ball, right?
Yep.
He didn't have very many receptions. He only had 2 receptions for 34 yards, no touchdowns. But that's something obviously he can work on. But I think that Dylan Jones is going to fit in just fine. You talk about Aaron Jones. I'm not going to lie to you. When I saw this guy play and he looked like he played in a zone blocking scheme where it was one cut, you either go here, you go here. And I think about young Aaron Jones, where it was like, okay, zone blocking scheme with the Packers, pick a hole and then run 70 yards. I kind of felt like I had Aaron Jones when I was watching Dylan Jones. I'm not even lying to you. It just felt right. He has big, long strides. I think he's going to be a really, really good running back for this offense specifically.
Every media outlet you hear from, like if there's one player from this class coming in next year that could play right away, and not only just play right away, but heavily contribute, everyone says Dylan Jones. So I think size-wise, and basically the stats that you just mentioned, like he sounds like he's already ready to go and has the build for it. So yeah, definitely, I'm fucking jacked.
Hell yeah, dude.
Mike, I assume the guy that you're excited for in the quarterback room next year is Tyler Van Dyke.
Yeah, I guess so. Sorry, I mentioned that right off the top.
No, that works. That works out better.
But yeah, I would say so. I mean, granted, his freshman year was his best year, right? And he kind of like trickled a little bit, but he also had a different offensive coordinator like each of the past 2 seasons, I think it was.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, I'll say it, I think he kind of got merged more so along the lines of having a different coordinator every single year as a starter. So I think
every year,
part of that may have something to do with it. Also, I think the offensive coordinator that just left Miami, I believe, went to SMU and took either the head coaching job or the offensive coordinator job there. And that interaction kind of happened then with the whole SMU connection with Tanner and back and forth and just learning more about the university. So I believe that's what happened. But that was also the offensive coordinator that Van Dyke learned under which he had like his best season too. So, hopefully the stars can align to that. As I said earlier, this guy was heavily recruited from Wisconsin in high school too. So
I was going to say, if I'm not mistaken, I thought Phil Longo was interested in him at Mississippi State also.
Yeah. He was heavily recruited too. So whether it's for Phil Longo or he's been to to Wisconsin a couple of times.
I think
whether I was on visits. Yeah. So he's familiar with it. Looking forward. He's an East Coast guy too, so I can see it. I wasn't too surprised when he actually made that trip to Madison, realized what the opportunity was. More, I mean, schematics, weather, whatever. But East Coast guy. He didn't grow up in Florida or Georgia or anything like that. So no, I'm looking forward to it. At the end of the day, just creating more competition in the quarterback room, obviously.
Yeah, and so to round out the skill position group, I have the wide receivers. There's a lot to like, and having Tyler Van Dyke can throw the deep ball makes me very excited. And I agree with Jake. Like this is the first glimpse of what Phil Longo's real air raid is going to look like, and the Badgers were still able to run the ball effectively. And there's still going to be some kinks to be ironed out, but as far as getting the scheme installed, I think this was a flash of what we're going to see in the next 4 to 5 years.
Yep.
I agree.
Now, looking at the players, oh man. Now, Will Pauling is the easy answer, but Tretch Kekahuna is going to be a star. Dude, he's going to be a star.
Thank you. I'm so happy you picked. I was like, you better.
My God, dude. He's going to be so good.
Yeah, he's a dog. 100%
oh my God, he's so fast and he's sure-handed. And oh my God, dude, he's like if you were talking like baseball, like you were gonna give him like a scouting report, like he'd be a 5 tool. Like special teams returning, route running, hands, speed, dude. I cannot wait to see what Tretch Kekahuna does in 2024. He's easily gonna already. I can tell you right now for the Badgers primer that we do in August. He's going to be my offensive guy to watch. Dude, seriously.
Hear me out real quick, okay? I'm not saying they will be as good or as productive with the stats, but this is what I thought of when I was watching Will Pauling and Tretch just dominate LSU's defense. I was like, bro, it kind of reminds me a little bit of something that's happening in LA, NFL version. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, two small guys, route runners, good hands. You could put them in the slot, put them outside. I could see it. I'm just saying, schematically, it works.
I'm going to have to watch the game again to kind of get a feel for that. But, dude, like every time the ball goes in his direction, it's just like he's making plays.
He put that linebacker on skates, man. Oh my God! I believe that was the number 1 rated linebacker in the whole country in 2022 in his senior class. By the way, he was a top dog. Yeah, I read that too. So, dude, Tretch can play, man, as you said, but he put that dude on skates, like buckled, just. Oh, it would be like what I would look like if he came and ran at me, you know.
Just carrying your ankles out in buckets.
Pretty much. Triple knot those shoes. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Oh, man. Seriously. Tretch Kahuna. Familiarize yourself with the name if you don't already. It's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. Defensively, name a position group that you liked what you saw, and then a player that you're excited to watch their performance next year.
Sure. So I got the safety group. I mean, you guys know me for how long since the primer, who I've been harping on since August or whatever that, end of August, who I love. My guy, Hunter Wohler, had a hell of a year. AP first team All Big Ten. You know, I'll go on my dying breath saying he is going to be an All-American next year. I am looking forward to seeing what he can do. I still think he kind of got robbed, but no. Anyway, 113 total tackles, 73 solo, tied for second most among like the secondary in FBS. So that's a hell of a season right there. 6 games with 10 or more tackles, just an absolute juggernaut. 4.5 tackles for loss, 2 INTs. You know, what more can you say? And he's a team leader too. He was the guy who called, you know, the locker room out basically before those last 2 games. And, you know, what led to that? We got 2 more wins and we got to play in the Rely Quest Bowl against a very good LSU team. So, this is definitely, he's going to be one of the captains next year. Very much looking forward to what he can, you know, do inside and outside of the locker room. And it starts in a couple weeks when I think they come back on January 14th or 16th or something like that for winter, you know, workouts or whatever. So it's going to start there. And I think he's going to set the tone too. So it's going to be, you get on board, get on the pot or get the hell out. So that's going to be his mentality, especially, you know, when Paul Chris recruited him, he said, no, I want to come here and we're going to win a championship. He's made that abundantly clear. So that's going to be his number 1 objective next year. Just looking forward to what he can do. So, and to pair him with, I got Austin Brown actually for next year.
I like it.
The reason why is, main reason we know he's very versatile. He played slot corner last game, and what happened? He got 8 tackles. I know defensively they got 35 points on us, but you know, just seeing him put up a stat like that, eight tackles, that was really good. He hasn't redshirted yet. He was on, you know, special teams for the most part his freshman year, and he jumped from 2 total tackles his freshman year to 36 total tackles this year, 26 solo and 1 sack. And like I said, his last game had 8 tackles against LSU, did really well. The staff is very, very high on him in terms of athleticism, so pretty promising there. And I think I could definitely choose between him or a guy like Preston Zachman, but I just think,
I'm glad you brought his name up.
Yeah, in terms of athleticism, I just know the coaches rave about Austin Brown for that, and you know, we've seen flashes. So next year is definitely going to be his prime opportunity, I think, to get that other starting safety position. Granted, there's a lot of competition there, but you know, if I had to single a dude out, because I think not only Zachman is back, but I think Kamoy Latu might be back next year too. So the competition is definitely going to be there. It just makes the safety position so much more intriguing and exciting.
I like it. Jake, what position group on defense are you excited for, and then a player specifically?
I just want to add in on Mikey real quick here. I can get on board with All-American. I'm not going to lie to you. Second year in the system, I mean, the offense should be a little bit more consistent, putting the defense in a little bit more favorable situations. I could see it. And we're going to be on TV a lot. We're playing Tyler, Mike, we've all been harping on this schedule that comes out next year. We're gonna have opportunities to show America what we are, right? In the Big 20 or whatever the hell you want to call us now. Pretty soon it's just going to be the North Conference and the South Conference. That's what I think it's going to become. But we're going to have an opportunity. We're going to be out west. We're going to be Central Time Zone. We'll be out east as well. So I mean, we're going to be able to show America what we got. So he will definitely be able to get some votes. Now for me, this is tough, okay? Because they didn't have a lot of great stats in the pass rush category, but we saw that all season long. I picked a defensive line. Thompson didn't record any stats really. Kurt Neal had 1 hurry. Paez had 0s. Cade McDonald 0s, and Ben Barton had 0s. But I will tell you the one thing that they did do, and this goes beyond the stats. I think that they had gap responsibility much better and allowed the linebackers to flow a lot better. That's just my personal opinion when I watched it. But if you look at the LSU, they only had 97 rush yards. They had 25 rushes for 97 yards. That's 3.9 yards per carry. I mean, they had 2 rushing touchdowns. One of the rushing touchdowns was from a yard out. So I mean, shit happens, right?
Yeah.
A lot of teams have 1 yard touchdown runs.
Right.
But you guys might think this is cheating, but I looked it up on 2 separate websites, and he was listed as D-line, even though he'll probably be, a 2-point stance linebacker in the Wisconsin Badgers defense. But he was listed as a D-lineman. The player I'm excited for is Leon Lowry Jr., transfer from Syracuse. I've seen him listed as
edge.
Yeah, I've seen him listed as both, as linebacker and D-line. But he was he was listed as D-line. So I'm gonna steal him for D-line because there was the whole debacle of him committing, and then everybody read the story, right? Mike was the lead on this story as well. He's the lead on every story that involves the Wisconsin Badgers. But there was the whole debacle of what happened when he committed. Then he was like, I'm not committed anywhere, and then he came back to Wisconsin. So I mean, it was just a happy ending, which we all love, right? Everybody loves a happy ending. I don't care who you are, man, woman, child. I don't care. Everybody loves a happy ending. And Leon Lowry, 6'4", 239. He had 3.5 sacks last year. So, I mean, he's going to bring a much-needed athleticism aspect to this defensive line and pass rush, I think. I think he's going to be the one guy that's called the dude up front, and he's going to force some things to happen for Hunter Wohler on the back end.
Mike said Hunter Wohler is a beast. Can't wait to see what happens next year. That's absolutely true. For me, I just kind of had to keep going like Mike with guys that we talked about in the preseason and guys that I'm still excited about.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with the corners, and some of them got picked on it sometimes, but there are young guys coming. The Badgers at cornerback, they're starting to get some recruits. A guy like Xavier Lucas, that's a big deal to get recruits from Florida that have other very big schools interested in them. So right now, looking at it, the 2 that I'm most excited about is obviously Ricardo Hallman, and then as a sophomore, Amari Snowden. I think he's got a real shot at earning some playing time in 2024, given the play of guys like Forkerine, Mack, Alexander Smith. I don't think those guys have really done anything that guarantees them any positioning.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think Alexander Smith is gone too.
He might be.
Is he a senior?
Yeah, I think he's a senior.
Yeah.
And then Jason Maitre is already declared for the draft. He's more of a safety, but he's just another guy in the secondary that's not going to be back.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think with a strong spring, I really think that Amari Snowden has a shot to either earn himself, playing time and maybe, just maybe, a starting job across from Ricardo Hallman.
Come on, Amari. Come on, I'm cheering for you, buddy.
There's so many young corners. I can't wait. Competition, man. I mean, they weren't lying when they said, we just want to create more competition because there's at least 3 guys off the top of my head, same year, that are going to be fighting for that other spot, including Forkerine. I mean, I don't want to take any too much away from him.
He had good games at times, but he got picked on a little bit against LSU.
I mean, the 2 deep, though, for sure. I mean, they're going to be right there. No doubt about it. But they got spots to fill.
Amari Snowden is probably one of the top players that I'm going to be keeping an eye on in the spring. He's going to be the guy that I'm going to be looking for reports to see how he's doing, because he's going to be a guy that I'm really going to be looking at to see if he can make an impact next fall. So that said, Mike, is there any improvements that you noticed from early on in the season up until the bowl game?
Can I just do like the air raid offense just in general?
That's what I put too.
Yeah, I think kind of the obvious one, I guess, for especially with this last game. I mean, hell, the center position. I mean, not to take that much away from Tanner. He did what he could. He didn't play in a shotgun snapping role on every single play in years past. He did what he could. But, I mean, I called it out right away to you guys that the snaps are just so fast, quick, crisp. You can't tell me that did not affect Tanner's play a little bit, because I think Tanner Mordecai's play a little bit, because I definitely think it did. It takes, in my opinion, it takes at least a half second off from D lineman getting to you as well, approximately, because you're, instead of looking up in the air, like getting it lobbed to you, you got a quick snap right in your goddamn hands. You can go ahead and sling it. So, the center role, I'll say that as well.
For me, it was the air raid as well. And I said, like in my notes, I just put, aside from the last set of downs where obviously the Badgers needed a touchdown to win the game, and obviously the ball kind of bouncing around a lot. Aside from that, the Badgers were raiding the air a lot. All over the field, different guys involved. Like, I understand this is the transfer portal aspect of it, but if Keontez Lewis and Skylar Bell were playing, like, the Badgers could have done even more.
Yeah.
And we talked about it too with Tanner Mordecai. Like, there was a couple, I think there was two drops on deep balls that were catchable, where it's like, looking in the future, if those balls were caught, like, Tanner Mordecai could have had an even bigger game.
Oh, the holding penalty when Vinny Anthony caught.
Oh, that's ball.
Man, was a thing of beauty too. Oh
yeah,
my
that
God.
was a dime.
Perfect ball. Oh, did that kill me?
I was gonna bring that up. I was gonna give props to Vinny Anthony, dude. He looks good. He's quick.
Yeah.
Badgers got a lot of wide receivers, man. This is kind of weird to say, but that felt weird as a Badgers fan saying that the Badgers have a lot of wide receivers.
Yeah, 2 drops. Yeah. CJ Williams had the other one. That was the other one that I was thinking about.
Yep.
Josh brought up CJ had that one slip out of his hands too. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it was the air raid for me. Jake, is there any other improvements that you noticed that came into the bowl game?
Just the offensive line in general. I was happy with the offensive line. There was, I wish I would remember his name. Number 0 on LSU was really the only impact player in the front 7, in my opinion.
Oh, I think that dude's going to the draft, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he looked like it. A field goal attempt was out of his range, Josh. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Let's see if I can find it.
Just really, like I'm saying, just the offensive line. I agree with Mike. The snapping was better, but I think that everybody up front was better overall. So the offensive line, it's a tale as old as time. If you win the line of scrimmage, you usually play pretty good, right? It's kind of how it works.
Mason Smith.
He was good. He was good. He was kind of whooping our guards' butts a little bit. I won't lie.
Yeah, 6'6", 315. That's a big dude. That's a huge dude.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's big. All right. Anything else you guys want to say on Badger football until we kind of close the book on this until the spring a little bit and then into the summer?
I guess one quick point about the game. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the whole Jack Nelson, Nolan Rucci ordeal at left tackle. Maybe they've moved Jack Nelson back to Michael Fortney's spot at right guard, because Nolan Rucci looked pretty. I mean, it is a small sample size. I get that, but he looked pretty good at left tackle against LSU. I thought he held his own. Hopefully he's shown the coaches enough in practice that maybe he can take over that role. And a guy like Jack Nelson, who, I mean, I'm not going to lie, he did struggle, a handful of times this season. Maybe they move him back to guard. Maybe that suits him that's going to suit him a little more. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there, because then you got, basically all the experienced linemen back too. I don't see maybe Joe Huber moves there otherwise, and they can bring in Joe Brunner at left guard because I know that the staff is very high about him. So offensive line is going to be very intriguing too going into this offseason, and look forward to hopefully seeing a few more bat signals yet in this
Yeah.
next.
Oh yeah.
next few
Yeah.
weeks.
The
That's my
transfer
final.
portal
That was my
closes
final point.
tomorrow, I believe.
Okay.
So tomorrow is the last day guys can declare for the transfer portal. And then there's another window from April 5th to the 20th. It's something like that. So there's another one in the spring, but we'll see. We'll see. I agree. Hopefully we're getting a couple more bat signals. But that said, we're going to put a pin in the Badgers for now, and we will be back discussing them, at times during the spring and the summer. We'll see if they do another open practice like they did with the launch. If they do, we'll try to be there. The launch was pretty cool to go to last year, so we'll see. Michael said what Badgers will be drafted in this NFL draft. Packers draft which one? I don't know if the Packers are going to draft any. Tanner Bortolini, maybe. The Packers are going to probably be in need of a center, but I don't know if Tanner Bortolini is going to draft as a center or a guard, but we'll see. And obviously Braylon Allen, he's going to get drafted probably like a 3rd or 4th round pick, somewhere in there.
I was so on board with getting rid of Dylan for Braylon Allen, early in the season. But now as the season's gone on, and I've kind of seen how Dylan has matured and how he's handled himself through the adversity.
Yeah.
I feel bad saying that because I really do like A.J. Dillon. But then you take the business aspect of it all, and we could have 4 years of rookie contract Braylon Allen, you know what I mean? And they're going to be the same guy.
Right.
In my opinion. They're going to be the same guy. Powerhouse guy. They're a little bit more nimble than you think. Decent hands. If Braylon Allen obviously needs to work on the pass blocking, but I mean,
yeah,
we'll see. I would love it. I'm not going to lie. I would love Braylon Allen in a Packer uniform, but I would like to see him in a more wide open offense.
Yeah. So the other guys, like I said, the other guy, Jason Maitre, is going to the draft. I will see if any other Badgers end up declaring for the draft. Like a guy like Muma and Jong Meta is a guy to be watching.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see who else declares for the draft. Hopefully, if some other Badgers do declare for the draft, they'll go play in the Senior Bowl, and Jake and I can get a chance to talk to them. That would be sweet. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, like I said, Badger football, we'll put a pin in it, and we're excited for next year, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, would love to see Allen in green and gold. We'll see. I mean, if he falls into that late 3rd round pick where the Packers have the Bills pick.
I won't say – you never say never, right? Because it could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we've seen the Packers running back depth be kind of depleted at times.
Yep.
We had Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. We still drafted A.J. Dillon. Now, obviously, there was circumstances into that with contract years and stuff like that.
Right.
But that could still be a case next year with
Yep.
Aaron Jones probably being on a contract next year.
Yep.
Maybe we sign Dillon to a 1-year deal. I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be answered. But
you let Braylon Allen be RB3 for a year and
learn
then
the
turn him loose
offense
in 2025.
Yeah, it could happen. I'm not going to say no.
All righty. We're going to switch to basketball. So Badgers basketball against Iowa.
Woo.
Now, first of all, we talked about this a little bit in our group chat. A pretty quiet night from Fran McCaffrey. We didn't have like, oh my fucking God, will this dude just go away? Like, he was pretty calm for the most part.
Yeah, I think he realized he knew what was coming to him throughout the game. So maybe that's why he kept his mouth shut.
All right. So, Mike, talk about Tyler Wall and points in the paint.
So I didn't even know this going into the Iowa game last night. Tyler Wall has done pretty goddamn well against Iowa. He's averaged close to 20 points per game in every year that he's played them. So that was the first point. And then, a very, very good night for him. 19 points, 8 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals. Most impressive stat out of all of this, Tyler Wall was 11 of 13 from the free throw line.
Attaboy.
How many times have you guys heard me on this show criticize him for that? So
handful.
A handful for sure. And that was definitely the most impressive part of the game in my view for him. He did get a little carried away at times with like dribbling in transition. I told you guys that as well. It definitely pissed me off a little bit, but he makes up for it for always playing hard. That's something I'll never take away from him. He looked a man amongst boys, 2 underneath, I thought, with some of those younger guys for Iowa. So he was definitely
points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block.
and a block. Yeah.
I kind of like how he's letting the beard grow in a little bit more, by the way. That looks
not such a baby face.
Yeah, he looks distinguished now. He looks like an elder statesman.
Yep, exactly. So no, he had a really good night. I mean, again, if he can keep up those free throw numbers, this is kind of one of those things that we've harped about with past, Wisconsin basketball teams. What do? They play defense and they make their free throws to close out games.
And don't turn the ball over.
I mean, and we're already over our average. Again, we talked about it last week from like last year to this year, how many more free throw attempts they've had. I think last year was around 14 or 15. This year, I think it was either on last week's show or 2 weeks ago. It was like 19.1. I mean, we shot 35 last night. So definitely well on the way there. So, and then just jumping right into that with the whole points in the paint, it's more so playing to our identity. I think we've really found that identity with this team. I mean, the Badgers got 42 points in the paint last night. It's the highest against any major or high major this year so far. So trending upward there. 31 attempts at the rim, which also included 7 of which included dunks. Are these the same Wisconsin Badgers? I do not think so. So that was cool to see. And that, as I kind of mentioned before, that led to shooting 26 of the 35 free throws in the second half, which, that first half was definitely a little, on edge a little bit. We had 10 days off, not playing our best ball, but they definitely took it to the hoop the second half. And, that's definitely something that, that stood out into this game. And it wasn't just, Tyler Wall and, big man Stephen Crowell. AJ Storer was obviously a big part of that too, getting to the bucket. John Blackwell, I think, had a couple buckets as well. But, we did a much better job getting to the rim and getting to the free throw line and just icing it away there.
Yeah, for sure. Mike said he was working, only caught the last couple highlights when the Badgers assist off the backboard. That hasn't happened in a long time. That ties right into what Jake's going to talk about with the highlight reel. So Jake wants to talk about the highlight reels and the pace.
I'm gonna add something to Mikey again. I'm feeling philosophical today. I don't know what's going on, man, but I'm gonna make another comparison. And you talked about the first half, right, where it was kind of back and forth. And we were obviously tied at half, right? I want to compare it to a boxing match, right? And you're a boxer and you might be a little bit rusty. You're just going to give some jabs, kind of feel the guy out. And then the second half was, okay, this is where he's leaning. This is where the open spot is. Bam, 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 haymaker, lob off the backboard. Are you shitting me right now? Are you shitting me? How about the pass to Chucky? How about that? That was phenomenal too. That was just as good as the dunk.
That little stretch by Chucky was amazing.
But the pass to get to Chucky set up the entire play. What was that? Was that Crowell or was that Wall that threw that? I don't remember.
I believe it was Wall, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
I think it was kind of Wall.
Because if it was Wall, it makes perfect sense. Because I'm going to talk about something because I picked 2 topics that go hand in hand, in my opinion. And you want to just talk about the highlights real quick. Obviously, the one that was number 2 on ESPN top 10 plays last night was, the lob off the backboard, right? But there was a number of dunks by AJ Storer last night. He had one cutting back door. He had one where he bully balled somebody. He looked like Giannis wearing number 2 in a Badgers uniform and 2 hands slammed it. I was like, what in the hell? I don't think he gets
pulled if they didn't pull it off.
I don't think he gets pulled.
Probably not.
No, I wouldn't say that. We got to remember too, he probably wasn't 100% either. He had that groin injury, and he didn't practice, all week leading up to it either. The most time I think he got, until Monday. So just something to keep in mind too. I try to keep that in mind in the back of my head as the game is going on, but other guys made up for it at the end of the day.
So Jake, talk about pace, and then I want to get back to this question because I have some thoughts on it.
I want people to see my beautiful face, and I forgot to turn my light on, so I apologize for that. You can now hear me and see how beautiful I am. So let me get to the pace real quick, and I think we can have a really great discussion on this. So you guys like highlights, huh? Because I like highlights too. And something that goes along with highlights is pace, which is like possessions per game and spacing. And I think that a faster pace could help the Badgers with both those things. Okay. So, and another thing I want to add in real quick before I get into this is the Badgers have struggled from the 3-point line a lot this year, but I feel like a lot of their shots have been forced, in my
At the
opinion.
end of the shot clock.
Yeah.
Max
So,
Klesmith kind of gets forced into that, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, Chucky gets. I mean, everybody does really. I mean, 4 of 16 from 3, and two of the makes 2 of 2. Not stealing any of your thunder, Tyler, but we're with Stephen Crowl. So the Badgers' pace right now is 67.3. That is number 327 out of 362. Okay, now before I get into this, people are going to hear that number and they're going to be like, "Oh my God, we play so slow." We don't. When you look at the numbers. I mean, they're all decimal points.
Yeah.
Very close. This the person that's 320, like 320 could be 67.2. I mean, that's how close this all is, right? But when you go to Iowa, who we played last night, they're number 15 in pace of play at 77.1. Now, you don't think that their pace of play kind of forced our pace of play and allowed us to get out and run?
Yep.
I mean, I think that it did. And if you look at this Badgers team, we're not a classic Badgers team. We're not a grinded out. We have athletes on this team. AJ Storr, in my opinion, now this might sound, recency biasy, but he might be one of the best athletes to ever put a Badgers uniform on. You see how high that guy jumps, dude? That is insane. He had a couple dunks last night.
We're gonna get to it. Stop throwing around my question that I'm gonna ask you guys.
He was like, his feet are at people's midsections, dude. That's not normal. You don't just do that, okay? Now you go to another team that we played early in the year, and that is Arizona. Arizona is number 3 in pace of play at 79.5. So you go from number 15 to number 3 by 2 more possessions. And you think about a Arizona team. They got guys that can run. They get easy shots in transition. They get 3-pointers. I think the Badgers could take something out of that. Now, do they need to be doing 79 possessions per game? Do they need to go up 12? No, I'm not saying that at all. But if they could get up to, here's their next opponent, Nebraska, right? And we're going to talk about them. Nebraska's their next opponent. They're number 189 at 71.3. You're telling me if you give the Badgers 4 or 5 more possessions per game, and they get 3 more clean looks at a 3-pointer or dunks, you're telling me that doesn't make a difference in wins in these big-time games when it comes to tournament time? I think it does. So the Badgers need to just tick it up just a little bit. I think Chucky fits better in that offense. I think AJ Storr fits better in that offense.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is going to sound really unpopular because Tyler Wall fits really good in the classic Badgers offense, but I think Tyler Wall would thrive in a faster-paced offense. Finishing at the rim, footwork, he could use his size, he could use his creativity around the rim. He'd be a monster in fast-paced offense.
Okay, let me continue your thoughts here because I'm thinking about it. If Tyler Wall is sprinting to the block and say teams are going to try to like suck down and double team him, that you don't think that Tyler Wall can hit that lean underneath the basket, kick out pass to a 3-point shooter in the corner?
I mean, it's not like he hasn't. He has.
And his name is John Blackwell. And I like him shooting wide open jumpers.
Or fully healthy Connor Essegian. Greg Gard said he's been putting good practices together.
Come on, man. Or, there's a number of guys. I mean, get Chucky some open looks. Get him cooking early. I mean, there's just so many good things that happen with pace and space.
And then the 5-man. You get Stephen Crowell trailing all that action, and he just plants himself at the top of the key in transition while everybody else is looking at the paint, and Stephen Crowell can get some wide open threes.
Who does that sound like, Tyler?
It sounds like Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez.
It does sound like Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez, and they shoot a lot of top of the key 3-pointers. They make a lot of them.
Yeah.
So give me some more of that.
Absolutely. So let me say this before I get into my subjects here. When Stephen Crowell presents himself as a threat on the 3-point line, good things happen every single time.
It's true.
Every single time he presents himself as a threat on the 3-point line, good things happen. He did it last night. He was 2 for 2. The second one that he made put the Badgers on an 8-0 run. Good things happen every single time he presents himself as a threat. And that's what I want him to do. He doesn't have to shoot it every time, but present yourself as a threat. So that in itself is a good thing. Now, you talked about AJ Storr, and I didn't tell you guys I was going to ask this question, but who do you remember was the last player as athletic as AJ Storr? I have a couple, that come to mind, but who would you say?
I mean, most recently, Khalil Iverson, but
Yep,
Khalil
good
Iverson
one.
doesn't have his shot hit AJ Storr's shot or anything like
Right.
that either. Just strictly like jumping out of a building. The most
Yep.
jumping, out of the gym, I should say, not out of a building. But Khalil Iverson's the most recent that I can think of off the top of my head.
Michael said
sure
Michael
there's way
Finley,
more.
which is fair.
Maybe Devin Harris. Maybe, but I don't know if you put them in that category.
I think AJ Storr is more athletic than Devin Harris. And Jake and I had this discussion. We talked about Johnny Davis. Johnny
Davis would be up there. That's fair. I think that's fair.
He's smaller though. So a guy at forward, where Johnny Davis is more of a shooting guard, like a guy that's AJ Storr's size and athletic. And then you're looking at like Khalil Iverson and maybe Alondo Tucker.
Sam Decker was 6'8".
Sam Decker is fair. Sam Decker's fair. Yeah. But I mean, we're in 2024 now. You're talking about Sam Decker. That was 10 years ago.
Oh, I know. So don't make me feel any older than I am.
Oh my God. That is nuts, man.
I'm thinking, you know what? And Tyler, you said we had this discussion, right? And when we had this discussion and we were talking about Johnny Davis, we both agreed that, like, yes, Johnny Davis is athletic, but his athleticism is more like his quickness.
Speed, yep.
So he is like, he's got the, the ability to slither and get to the rim, and where AJ Storr is loud. Like when he gets to the rim and he scores, it's loud. Like you've heard this term in basketball, like this guy had a quiet 20. This guy had a loud 20. Like AJ Storr last night had 16 points. Very loud 16 points.
Yeah.
You felt all 16 points if you were an Iowa fan.
And this is the thing with him, is that he was 7 of 13 from the field, which is efficient. That's a little over 50%.
Yep.
He was 1 for 6 on threes.
Dog.
Which means he was 6 of 7 on twos.
He could have went nuts last night, bro.
So Brad said, is there any chance a guard has learned from Fickle that change is good? And I don't think that it's necessarily something that Fickle changed in Greg Gard. I think it's just a thing we needed to be a little bit patient with Greg Gard. And I'm going to come back to why I'm saying this. But I want to finish on AJ Storr first. Okay. And Jake and I talked about this a little bit last night, that we think that AJ Storr is drawing confidence since his 29-point game. He set a new career high, and it's giving him more confidence to be like I can be that dude. Mm-hmm. And then back to Brad's question about, does Chucky get pulled if they don't pull that off the backboard play? First of all, props to Chucky Hepburn for trusting AJ Storr to go get that ball. Props to AJ Storr for going and getting it and finishing it.
Props to the Iowa guy for getting dunked on. Thank you.
Dude, that's one of those things where it's like, if you're the Iowa guy, like, you got to play the player, not the ball.
Bro, that's one of those things,
up
bro.
at 2 feet and just rises up his back, and I'm just like, oh no.
You know what I really wanted to do?
That.
With that video, I really want to do with that video. Like, you ever seen those videos where like it like goes through halfway through the video and it goes, this is where he realized he fucked up, and then just show the Iowa guy's face, and then just continue wham,
and then the bench goes absolutely crazy. Now, why I think this is so important, and why I talked to a couple people that commented on the video about it, is it's a flashy play. It's not something that that our dad's Badgers would have done. But I do think it's important to try stuff like that once in a while. Because here's the thing. Momentum is a bigger deal in college basketball, arguably, than any other sport. I think momentum in college basketball is more important, seriously, than any other sport.
I don't disagree with that. I think momentum in general is bigger in basketball, so I agree with that.
And I think I think momentum is a bigger deal than college basketball than it is in the NBA.
I can see that.
Especially when you talk about like crowds getting into games. Like when you get into college basketball and crowds are into it, it rattles opponents more than it does in the NBA.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I truly believe that momentum is a huge deal, and making a play like this was a momentum play. This game did not get close again after that play. It did not get within, I don't think it got within 8 points, and if it did, it wasn't within 6 after that.
Yeah.
That play was the momentum play for the rest of the game, and this was, I think it was like with 8 minutes left in the game that play happened. Mm-hmm. So momentum's a real thing, And like I said, I'll stand on it. I think momentum is more important in college basketball than any other sport, especially when you get to tournament time. Because obviously everything is a one game and you go home. Yeah. So to have momentum building through the game and then through the games as you continue to advance in the bracket, having some plays like that once in a while, that momentum, it's seriously important.
And just something for other teams to scout for now. We're not necessarily the slow team. Like you said, your dad's Badgers, right?
Right.
I mean, other teams know now we can get up and run now too. And we got the versatility to do that. I don't think that's going to be a hidden secret anymore. So
Nebraska's going to be watching tape and be like, fuck, we got to worry about these guys throwing off the backboard. Oops now? What the hell?
Yeah.
Trash. Okay. Second thing that I took away from this was actually Stephen Crowell's post-game comments. So here's the thing. We talked about this a whole bunch of times last season. Stephen Crowell said, I think we are a pretty confident group going into every game. This year feels different than last year, and that's just some of the guys we have. What did we say all of last season? Let Greg Gard get this recruiting class in. Let Greg Gard get another year of transfer portal players. And look how important the new guys are this year. AJ Storr, immensely important. He's changing the face of the program a little bit when we talk about athleticism.
Oh, yeah.
John Blackwell, he was probably the third freshman that we thought was going to be impacting games, and he's number one.
Oh,
he's been extremely important to this
team. I will
team.
say Nolan Winter. Is that correct?
Yep.
Am I saying it? Yeah. Sorry.
Yep.
I read a lot of names during the week, so I will say that Nolan Winter looks like he's getting a little bit more comfortable.
Dude, you guys know I'm a big Nolan Winter guy. So, I think he's going to be a bigger deal when we get to that. But seriously, I mean, the new faces, we said this all of last season. All of last year when people are like, fire Greg Gard. And we're just like, let him get these guys in because we have some dudes coming. And now they're here, and the Badgers look like a really good basketball team, and Greg Gard looks like a really good basketball coach. Shocking.
But he'll never get credit. He can't recruit. Yeah. No one will ever give him credit.
Which is stupid. We talk about it all
we're
the time.
Talking about the same people that waited for Jordan Love to get Conference Player of the Week before they said, oh, he might be the guy.
Yeah.
Not that he beat the defending Super Bowl champs or beat a really good Detroit team on the road or, breaking all these records and throwing for 30 touchdowns. I mean, they had to wait till he won an award for them to be like, you know what, maybe I was wrong.
You might need to get those apology forms heated up there, Tyler.
Hey.
Once again.
Ooh, I'm writing that down. I'm going to put a pin on that. Yep, I'm going to write down Greg Gard apology form. Yep, that's a good idea. A couple more signature wins in the hat, and I think we're in business.
Yeah. Heat them up. For sure.
That's really what my second thing was to bring up that we said, wait for some of these guys to get here.
Dude.
All right. The Badgers, again, between now and next Wednesday, only have one game. They play Nebraska tomorrow. So that said, Mike, what are you looking for against Nebraska tomorrow night? Or no, sorry, Saturday night. Nebraska plays Indiana tomorrow, and then the Badgers and Nebraska is on Saturday.
Yeah, looking forward to watching that, actually. But, I kept it pretty simple on this first one. Just limit the turnovers and that slow-ass start that we had yesterday. I get it. 10 days off, growing pains, getting back into the swing of things. That's fine. I mean, the turnovers in the first half were definitely an issue. It's something, and definitely preventable, too, for the most part, honestly. We had I think we had 13 total off the top of my head. So I know it has been worse in games past, but specifically that first half just wasn't the greatest. So just don't shoot ourselves in the foot. We're going to be on our home floor again on Saturday. Hopefully it's a good crowd. It should be a good crowd. Saturday afternoon game. There's no need for us to, shoot ourselves in the foot again. So, and then I guess my call out, since we're playing Nebraska, and we gave up that 20-point lead last year, we need some revenge, right? So we got to shut down Tominaga. that the Asian, the 3-point specialist, that lefty, he absolutely cooked us last year.
That was annoying.
Yeah, that was bad. That was at Nebraska. Like I said, we had a 20-point lead. Things were going good, and all of a sudden they were just downhill. So we got to limit the threes with that guy. I know they got other players, but that's the first dude that pops in my head because I think
John Blackwell on him. He's a bigger, more athletic defender. Yeah.
Yeah. He dropped about 6 or 7 threes
down
on us and just absolutely smoked us that second half. So we got to shut his ass down, I think, first and foremost.
All right. So now we mentioned Nebraska playing Indiana tomorrow. So my first thing is to either end Nebraska's win streak. They're on a 4-game win streak. So to either end that if they beat Indiana, or if they lose Indiana, to send them on the beginning of a losing streak. That's seriously just one of my goals, is to either keep them with L's or start sending them some L's.
Yeah.
They're playing pretty well right now. Their record is actually very similar to the Badgers.
They're 11-2.
Yeah. They're actually, I think they have one less loss than the Badgers.
Yep.
So that, and then my second goal is for the Badgers' depth to hit their strides together. So looking at it, the Badgers had 15 bench points against Iowa. The Badgers had 4 guys in the starting lineup that scored 15 points or more.
Yeah.
So the bench has some opportunity, and it's not to say that the starters need to score less, but it's more for the bench guys to be a little more efficient and a little more aggressive to help build leads when the starters are on the bench, and not just, tread water or, maintain a lead, or only let the lead get smaller by 2 or 4 points or something like that.
Right.
So if John Blackwell and Nolan Winter and even Kamari McGee, who is pesky defensively, but not a big scorer. I mean, even Carter Gilmore, who I will say is pretty solid on offensive rebounds as far as his scoring goes. But if all these guys hit their stride at the same time and all play play their best game at the same time, I truly believe the Badgers can blow Nebraska out.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that I'm calling for that or expecting it, but I think they're capable of it if all the bench hits their stride at the same time. So those are my 2 goals for Saturday. Jake, what are your 2 goals for the Badgers against Nebraska?
So I'm just going to double down. I was talking about the pace of play earlier, and I want them to play faster. That's my first goal. Play faster. I believe that will help the bench as well. I mean, this team is literally made to play a faster pace. You don't think Nolan Winter wants to play a faster pace and catch some 3-pointers, in transition? That's the kind of guy he is. He's a big guard. I mean, let's just call it what it is, right?
He's like Nate Reavers, like we said.
He is. And then you were tiptoeing around it, Tyler. And I don't know if he's going to be ready on Saturday, but I say give Connor some minutes. I'm ready for Connor Esiason. And imagine him wide open in the corner on the fast break, dude. I mean, I'm really just all for this faster pace. I mean, a couple of years ago we had a discussion about it, but this roster is just literally set up for it, in my opinion. But giving Connor some minutes, I think, would be a good thing, especially against a Nebraska team. Give him some minutes against a Big Ten opponent. I don't think Nebraska has too many guys that are just going to blow you out of the water. I know that's kind of shit talk, but I know they got a couple good players. But they really I think their leading scorer is averaging 13 points or 14 points. So, I mean, that's not
13.7.
Yeah. So, I mean, come on. And, you want to talk about Nebraska's record? I can almost 100% guarantee that they didn't go through a gauntlet, a 3-game stretch like the Badgers did. Can almost guarantee that. So,
best team they've played is Creighton, number 15, and they lost by 29 points.
Creighton's pretty good, actually. But
Creighton is pretty good, but that's the only ranked team they've played.
And they got
their season start was Lindenwood, Florida A&M, Rider, Stony Brook, Oregon State, Duquesne, and then Fullerton. And those were all home games.
You might as well just play the fucking Walmart third shifters at that point. Jesus Christ.
I'm surprised they don't have the Alabama School for the Deaf on there.
Right. Yeah. So this should not be close. I mean, we keep talking about last night's game against Iowa where the Badgers kind of started slow after their big layoff. They scored 83 points, dude. They finished the game with 83 points. That potential is insanity, in my opinion. So Let's just go out there, play a little bit faster, get some more shots up there. Maybe we'll do 2 dunks off the backboard this game. I don't know.
Dude, there was a brief moment where I was like, dude, is Chucky going to throw the second one off the backboard too? And then he went and got an and one. And I'm just like, I'll take that too.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it does, though. That's
Exactly.
what that
It makes
play
the guy
exactly
think about
does.
it. Like, fuck, this just happened 20 seconds ago. Is he going to try it again?
Right?
Dude, if he would have, I would have lost my shit. I would have absolutely lost my shit if Chucky would have done that 2 times in a row.
So I'm a very passionate guy when I watch my sports. There's a reason we haven't like watched the game live yet, because I'm still kind of honing in my emotions and how I want to be on the camera. So when that happened, I was laying down playing games with my daughter and stuff, and I stood up and I was just like, "There's no fucking way that just happened." Like I was just like standing there, didn't move. I didn't know what to do with my body, so I had my arms out here like weird, right? If he would have did it a second time, I might have just walked outside and went for a walk, because I would not have known how to react. It would have been wild, dude.
Oh, that would be awesome. All righty. Well, Mike, we will have you back again next week to discuss that Nebraska game. Until then, we will see you later, and have a good night.
Sounds good. A quick shout out too. You mentioned Kamari McGee very brief. We got to give a shout out to him real quick. I'm so sorry I forgot to mention. He was plus 10 in the first half, mind you, when we had a shit first half. Kamari McGee, when he was in there, plus 10 points. Two points, 3 steals, 2 rebounds. Had to get that in there because he had some very clutch plays.
Nice. All righty.
I'm bad.
See you next Wednesday, Mike.
Later, gents.
All righty. So sticking with basketball, we got 3 Milwaukee Bucks games to talk about. We got power pair and underrated performers. I usually make you go first, so I'm going to go first.
I like it.
So I get to have Giannis this week. Tim, you're the man. I appreciate everybody. I know Brad's been watching during the show too. Appreciate you guys donating your winnings to the fantasy football or from the fantasy football league. I got second place. Tim's winning in our side. I'm going to get second place. But we appreciate that everybody is willing to do that. It's a really cool gesture by everybody who is willing to do so, and we appreciate it, and it's going to help us. So we thank you guys for that.
That's pretty sick, man. That's pretty cool, you guys.
Yeah, for sure. On to power pair. Mine, I get Giannis this week. He averaged 32 points, 14.7 rebounds, 8 assists, 1.3 blocks per game. Dude is he's really good at basketball.
Yeah, MVP.
And percentages, 64.8 from the field, 0% from 3. We're going to have a discussion about that. And 74.3% from the free throw line, which is, by Giannis standards, fantastic.
Yep.
So we will take that. Michael said Brad and I are 0.02 points separated after the first round. Going to be a nail biter. Whew.
Yeah.
Man. That's tough. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that stress. Thank you again, Brad, by the way. And then my other one, I went with Chris Middleton, 20.3 points a game, 3 rebounds, 9 assists.
Dog. We're going to have a discussion about Chris Middleton.
Man. Okay. He was 58.5% from the field, 40% from 3, and 87.5% from the free throw line. Chris Middleton is balling the last week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely balling.
Mm-hmm.
And then my underrated performer, I didn't pick a player. I kind of went a little tricky on this one, kind of cheated a little bit, but I went with the Bucks defense. Now, I get that people are still going to be like, oh, the Bucks defense is terrible. They're terrible. The upgrade that the Bucks made offensively is much larger than the defensive downgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Now, slowly but surely, the Bucks defense is getting better. If I'm not mistaken, it was at the end of November, they were 24th in defensive rating. And then going into the Indiana game on Monday, they were at 17th.
They're getting better.
Exactly. Slowly but surely, they're getting there. The rotations are getting faster. We're definitely seeing flashes of that. And we're seeing stretches of good defense. It's happening. So it's one of those things where it's like, a little bit of static. Eventually, it's going to build up, into a shock of lightning, and it's going to be defense is going to be there. It's going to be there. And Jake, to your credit, you talked about if the Bucks hiring that new coach for the offensive side of the ball, can allow Adrian Griffin to dictate some of his attention to the defense, that's only going to benefit the Bucks. So good call on that.
Thank you, sir.
All righty. Give me your power pair and underrated performer.
So just real quickly on the defense, you could tell the defense is getting better by the 3-point numbers they gave up this last week from the opponents. We didn't have a single opponent hit double-digit threes on us this week.
This too.
That's 3 games. Dude, Brad, I got to tell you, I don't want to get too much into it, but once they get Crowder back, if they can get it, this is me projecting stuff. When Pat gets going a little bit, because, he's still getting his legs, and people just really underestimate, like, how fast and how physical NBA basketball is.
Yeah.
They do that all the time. It's classic. So when Pat gets his legs fully back, and if we get a real backup point guard, then this team will skyrocket. But we'll get into that. So for power pair, I went with Dame. Listen, man, I could talk all day about numbers, but the pull that Damian Lillard has, quite frankly, just makes him a power pair player every week.
Yep.
Plain and simple. He averaged 18 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He did have a bad shooting week this week. He was 16 of 42 from the field. That's 38%. And 6 of 24 from 3. That's 25%. But I have some opinions on him that I do want to talk about. I already told you some of it.
Yep.
But I do want to talk about it, and I want to get, the opinions of the peanut gallery over here. That's what I'm going to call you in a respectful way. But even with those bad shooting numbers, he still ended the week plus 17. So, I don't know what we're doing.
There's reasons for that.
There is. And we'll give you the context. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But my second one I picked, I had to take a step back because it's Malik Beasley.
Not a boy.
Not Mikhail Beasley.
Yeah.
But Beasley, who averaged 14 points, 3 rebounds. He had an assist. He shot 58% from the field. That's 15 to 26. And 58% from the 3-point line. The guy was on fire. Okay?
Man. He's one of the top 3-point shooters in the entire NBA.
Yeah,
I'm going to pull it up because I know he is. That's for a fact that he is.
Yeah, I think he just made his 1,000th 3-pointer. Am I correct last game? Was it his 1,000th 3-pointer?
Let me see. I know I have it written down.
He did a
yes,
1,000.
You are correct. His 1,000th 3-pointer. Yep, you're correct.
So he finished the week at plus 10. So I also went a different way this week with mine. And before Tyler gave me credit, I was going to give credit to Adrian Griffin.
He's number 2.
He's number 2? Okay.
Take a stab at who number 1 is. And he's a bargain. True. Yep.
Number 1 for 3-point percentage?
Yep.
Oh, that's
big name.
Big name?
Big name. Top 5 player.
Oh. Like a big name.
Yeah.
Just tell me West or East?
West.
West.
Southwest.
Devin Booker? Kevin Durant?
Kevin Durant.
I knew it was going to be somebody on Phoenix because it wasn't
Kevin Durant is 47.7. Malik Beasley is 47.0. Top 2 3-point shooters in the league.
I just got to tell you, that's fucking insane that Kevin Durant is shooting that good with everybody being out of the lineup, and Phoenix is a fucking mess. Durant is a stud. Like, I'm never going to take anything away from Durant's talent because he's a monster.
Absolutely.
But wow, is he a flip-flopper. Just say that. Him and James Harden were literally made for each other. But I'm going to give it to Adrian Griffin for realizing that he had too much on his plate. Okay? He needed an offensive guy. He needed to focus more on defense. And he heard all the noise. Everybody talking about how bad this defense was. And also, can I just talk about how dumb ESPN is real quick? Why every time they talk about the Bucks, they talk about us like we're the 30th ranked defense? When I saw that we were ranked 17th, because I didn't look into any of the numbers, when I saw that we were ranked 17th, I was like, why the fuck is everybody acting like we're the worst defense in the league?
Okay, here's the thing. This is what bothers me about it, is the fact that they'll acknowledge that the Bucks got worse on defense, but will not talk about how much more insane the Bucks offense is. The Bucks have already scored 140 points more times this year so far than they did the entire year last year. Dude, we're not even halfway through the season.
They scored 140 points the same amount of times in the month of December that they did the entire year last year.
Yeah.
That's Nuts.
We're going to talk about some of those December numbers because they're ridiculous. Not just season or franchise, history of the league, ridiculous offense.
Yeah.
But no, everybody just wants to talk about their defensive downgraded because they got rid of Drew Holiday.
And people act like, and this is what really makes me mad, is like, not mad, I guess, annoyed. People act like Horst is just going to sit on his hands and not make any moves. Like, I can when has he ever done that for one?
He's former GM of the year. Put some respect on John Horst.
He's going to get a guy or two in here that's going to help shape this roster for the playoffs. Okay. And he's not going to give like a ton away. Everybody's talking about, there was an article on Wisconsin Sports Dumb this morning, and it said Chris Middleton could be traded. I'm like, why?
Oh my fucking God, dude.
Why?
That's tight,
Why?
bro. Oh my God.
Who sat in front of their computer and was just like, yeah, I've been watching the Bucks for the last 2 weeks. I think they should trade Chris Middleton.
And then an editor went and was like, yeah, that's a good idea. We should publish that.
I don't know.
Dude,
I mean,
seriously,
it's gonna get
that, dude, seriously, like that site, like I honestly, as far as talking poorly about other content creators go, there is a true difference in quality and quantity, because that site is all about quantity and it shows in their engagement when they have 1, 2, 3, 4 likes on a post. And then you look at ours where we prioritize the quality of what we do. And I think that's part of why we have such a great following that we do, and we appreciate our following, is the engagement on our stuff.
Yeah, and we don't just throw stuff together just to throw stuff together just to get an X number of posts per day, right? Like, we want to make sure that we're giving you guys something that's worthwhile when you're scrolling on your phone, whether it be you at work, whether it be you in the morning, whether it be you at night after dinner. Like, we want to give you guys something to enjoy.
Like, whatever it is. We want to prioritize that quality.
And my point, what was I saying? Chris Middleton. We're not just going to give Bobby Portis away because you're fucking mad, okay? I have to say this. I'm looking into the camera and saying this. We're not just going to give Bobby Portis away because you don't like that he had a bad shooting game. Please stop thinking with your emotions. Please. Yeah. That is not how the real world works, for one. And that is not how sports business works. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, we talk about business or relationships matter, because they do. And you want to talk about a guy that has a good relationship with his fan base? His name is Bobby Portis.
Yep.
When you go to the game and you're all excited, right? You're like, man, I get to watch Giannis. I get to watch Dame. And then you know what? And this is just me assuming the third most popular name probably is Bobby Portis. Because Bobby can do a lot of things on the scale of basketball.
It's probably between Bobby and Chris.
You know, Bobby Portis can make a couple 3-pointers in a row. The crowd can start chanting Bobby, which is really
if Bobby Portis gets an offensive rebound and an and-one, the crowd is chanting Bobby every time.
He could pound his chest. He could get into it with another player. Bobby Portis is awesome, and he's great energy for this team. We're not going to trade him because you're mad at him on a fucking Thursday. Move on with your life. God damn it!
You got to zoom out. You got to zoom out. When it comes to an 82-game NBA season, and there's one bad game, that's where you have to zoom out and be like, okay, it's one game. You look at his stats for the whole season, and you calm down. You have to zoom out. And to the perspective, because that's how we are, we want to acknowledge all of those perspectives. You have to do it on good offensive nights too. You know, we're not going to sit here and say that you pen in all the good games and pencil in and then erase the bad ones, or that you ride super high on the highs and you ride a little bit low on the lows. Like it's both. It's both. It's a experience of impermanence. It's a real thing. Brad said also think what Giannis would say, and I'm going to come back to what Giannis would say, because I saw somebody say something, make a stupid suggestion on Facebook yesterday. And when it comes to Bobby Portis again, and same with Damian Lillard, we know these guys are capable of great things, So when they don't have those games all the time, because nobody is 100% consistently good all the time, it's going to go back and forth. What the hope is that it all makes them better, so that when the games start causing, like win or you go home type moments, that is when they're performing at their best. That's what the hope is. That's what the regular season is for. And bottom line, the Bucks are 24-9. They are second in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. Oh God, we're 2 games behind for first place. Oh, everybody, the sky is falling. Christ.
Michael said Bobby Portis in a hockey sense is the enforcer. You can't tell me his eyes don't freak the crap out of opponents at times. Man, I bet they do. You see that, and it's just like it's like the deer becomes the headlights. That's how Bobby Portis' eyes are. It's not deer in the headlights. It's like the deer is the headlights now.
Oh, that's too good. That was a good one. I like it.
Okay. Real quick, Brad, because you brought up thinking about what Giannis would say. I saw somebody in a Milwaukee Bucks group say the Bucks should release Robin Lopez to sign Montrezl Harrell.
Oh, God. Here we go. I saw that too.
He averages 12 points and 5 rebounds in his career. He would do more than Robin Lopez. Yes, let's bring in a guy that known to have issues with Giannis. Let's literally bring in a guy that would kill chemistry. Chemistry is a real thing, and Robin Lopez is good for it.
Yeah, I saw your comment on there, and then he was like, "What was his reply?" I don't remember his reply.
It was but the numbers aren't it's personal. Look at the numbers,
personal.
Like, dude, chemistry is a real thing.
Yeah, so he usually says something like, "Learn that about life, buddy." And I'm thinking to myself, like, bro, you are absolutely barking up the wrong tree about perspective on life. I can promise you that.
Yeah, especially when it comes to our show. It's like we just talked about this, like with NIL. And this is something where, like, with our show, if there was some sponsor that came along that philosophically did not agree with us, and then there was a competitive sponsor that had like a better relationship with us, like, let's use Cardboard Legacy because they are our sponsor. If there was another card shop and they were like 2 like douchey dudes and they were like, we want to give you guys twice as much money, but we're dicks, like, we don't want to work with them.
No,
we want to work with good people.
Same
goes with the NBA. You want to work with good people.
Did we just forget about the ladder incident that happened last year? I mean, who is the main culprit of that? You want that on our team? We're trying to win a title. We don't need fuckery.
Culture and chemistry are real. They are real things. They are, like, when it comes to things like free agency, if you come to a season and you're like, okay, this Bucks team had Montrezl Harrell and it caused a bunch of problems in their locker room, you think a free agent is going to want to sign here next year? You think Malik Beasley is going to want to return if the rest of his season he has a poor time because Montrezl Harrell's a douchebag?
Yeah.
You want that guy in your locker room? Oh, he averages 12 points for his career, more than Robin Lopez. I don't care. We're talking about the last seat on the bench. At that point, give me character over career when it comes to a guy who's going to sit in the 15th chair.
Yep.
I don't give a shit. Because you could sign the ghost of Dirk Nowitzki. Oh, cool. He's still going to be sitting on the end of your bench. It does not matter. At that point, the character of your players matters more because the rest of those seats are filled. Now, if Brook Lopez were to like tear an ACL or something like that, and we were needing to sign somebody who was going to play and perform, it would be different. And even then, Montrezl Harrell would still not be in the discussion of players we should sign to play center for us.
Just like all the people that wanted James Harden, like
that's the exact same thing.
Do you guys like live under a fucking rock or something?
Like, character is seriously, it's a real thing. Character, culture, chemistry, the 3 C's. Don't fuck with them.
Yeah.
Especially in Milwaukee, where you have to have intangibles to draw people here because you're not LA, New York, Chicago, Miami.
100%. I agree.
You have to have those intangibles. So that said, let's talk about a New York team, and let's talk Bucks and Nets. Jake, what stood out to you from the Bucks and Nets game last week?
All right, so Bucks and Nets, another 144-point outing. So just have that going for us. Giannis, 32, 10, and 8. I mean, 32, 10, and 8. That's this guy. That's what this guy does now. That's insane. And he's 7 feet tall, and he makes dad jokes, and he plays with a little tiny T-Rex during timeouts. I mean,
that's Brook Lopez's.
I know, but he plays with it a little bit.
He's one of those dudes where it's like you would see him away from basketball and you'd be like, that guy's kind of weird.
No, I would love that guy. He's funny.
Well, he'd be fun to hang out with, but like if you didn't know him, like if you didn't know that he was like a world famous basketball player, and then like you're just talking to that guy and he's got like a weird accent and he's like making dad jokes and he's like just like, you know, goofing around and be like, that guy's kind of weird.
Actually, I don't disagree with you, to be honest with
Especially if he's wearing like a loose hoodie and you don't see that he's just like absolutely insanely ripped.
Or that he jumps.
Man, that weird guy's really tall.
Right. So
he's our weird guy.
Dame didn't even play good and we scored 144, which is like the scariest shit I've ever seen in my life. He scored 12 points. 12. But you know who picked it up for us was Chris Middleton. So
he was on one, bro.
He was. The old school duo was back. 27 points, 3 rebounds, 10 assists. Beasley had 17 points, 5 3-pointers. Bobby played pretty good, made 6 of his 9 shots. And the bench, including Bobby, scored 54 points. So, I mean,
hell yeah.
The bench was fantastic in this one. We shot 58% from the field, 45% from three-point line, 41 assists. We had the same amount of rebounds and assists. That should be illegal.
Oh, my God. Let me just throw this out there. The first half, the Bucks had 19 assists on 24 field goals.
Jesus freaking
like
Christ.
Brooklyn, you might have just had 5 cones out there.
Yeah. They only had 10 turnovers of those 41 assists, so 4-1 ratio.
Hell yeah.
Amazing. The one thing that is a glaring issue for me, though, is the points in the paint. We gave up 70 points in the paint. So if they could clean that up along with their perimeter defense, which is improving, by the way, they're giving up a lot less three-pointers. Brooklyn shot 7 of 32. That's 21.9%. So if we could start packing in the paint a little bit, I feel like we're putting a little bit too much on Brook. I mean, Brook gives his best effort, but a lot of times I feel like Brook contests the shot, and then the guy that he's guarding gets the rebound and puts it back in. That's what I feel like happens a lot. But
and it happened with the Knicks game too a lot, where guys would be, you know, kind of looking like they're going to go up for floaters, and this is where like a guy like Halliburton and Jalen Brunson kind of, you know, they can have big statistical nights. Is getting past their guys and then forcing Brook to step up and then giving dump offs. And that's where I brought this up actually last week when we talked about these games, is just having to have that guy step up, the rotational guy, the next guy to step up sooner and force that pass to the corner 3 and then recover and close out.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, I mean, this was just a fun basketball game.
Yeah. So first quarter, Pat Connaughton hit his 600th career 3. Chris Middleton started cooking with Dame and Giannis on the bench. Bobby Portis was also cooking. He had 10 points in the first half. Chris Middleton had 15 points and 6 assists at halftime. Giannis had 12 points at halftime. Malik Beasley made 3 of 3 threes in the first half. The Bucks as a team, 11 of 25 on threes in the first half. It's 44%. The Nets were 1 of 13. That's 7.7% of threes in the first half. And then I just want to talk about this. NBA officiating has been at best bad this year. At their best, collectively bad.
Agreed.
Brook Lopez literally got a technical for headbutting a basketball after the buzzer went off at halftime.
Yep.
They literally gave him a technical for that. What are we doing here?
I got nothing, man.
The ball is not in play. We are literally on dead time here. And you gave him a technical for headbutting a basketball. You didn't headbutt it at somebody. He just literally was just screwing around after the buzzer sounded, and you gave him a technical that affected the basketball game for that. What the hell are we doing here?
I mean,
seriously, I would love to ask Adam Silver that question and be like, dude, what is the deal?
You know, it's interesting that you propose that. It would be, you know, if you were in a closed room and there was no reporters, it would be really interesting to hear his answer and see what he would say about the inconsistency of the refs.
So that said, getting into the second half, the Bucks were struggling to get some stops in the third quarter, but they also could not be stopped. And this is one of those things where the Nets were playing without a bunch of their starters. And I brought this up because they didn't really announce that a bunch of the starters were going to be sitting until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yep. And it's almost not talent-wise, but game plan and film preparation-wise, it's almost harder to defend a group of reserves than all the starters. You game plan to go against Bridges and Dinwiddie and Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas. And then it's all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, like Cam Thomas is the only one who's going to play the whole game. Bridges is going to start and only play the first quarter.
Yeah.
Now you're playing a bunch of these guys who were like, okay, when this guy comes off the bench, he plays for like 5 to 10 to 12 minutes and he does this and this. And now it's like, okay, you're going against that guy for 30, 35 minutes. It kind of takes your game plan away. So I will say on the fly, that makes it a little bit tougher on defense. The Nets took a brief 79-78 lead. Giannis started taking over after that. Even though the third quarter kind of went back and forth, the Bucks took an 8-point lead into the fourth quarter. Started it on a 7-2 run, got the lead up to 13 points, kept the pedal down, and the Bucks dropped 44 points in the fourth quarter.
Dang.
The Bucks scoring went 32, 34, 34, 44. Jesus. You brought up Chris Middleton having 27 and 10. He did it shooting 11 of 18 from the field and 3 of 7 from 3. This is like you see that once in a while. People do that Chris Middleton cycle thing. He's in the prime Jordan part of that cycle because he's making moves where he's doing a couple crossovers, spinning, and then fading back off the spin. Dude, the defender's not even there. The defender's not even there in Chris Middleton's mind, and that's where him being 6'7", 6'8", whatever you want to call him, benefits him as a small forward who is more of a big shooting guard. The defender's not there. Chris Middleton is playing 1-on-0 in his mind when he's moving like that.
Yep.
And it's just buckets. You brought up the defensive game planning on defending the paint, and I agree with you. That's going to be a theme, and it's something we just have to keep an eye on. It's not something that's going to be like, okay, this was the game where it was completely fixed and they never had to worry about it again. That's not how it works. It's all process.
Yep.
All process. You're just looking for incremental improvement for things to get better as they go. That said, let's move into the Cavs game. What stood out to you from the Bucks and the Cavs?
So Bucks and Cavs, Giannis and Dame cooked in this one, and Chris Middleton kind of played third fiddle. So that's the thing about having 3 guys is 2 of them are pretty much always guaranteed to go off, right? So in the game against the Nets, it was Giannis and Chris. Now it's Giannis and Dame. And you're going to just understand that, like, Giannis is just – and we kind of take this for granted, right? And people did it a lot with LeBron, and they do it with a lot of all-time greats. His consistency is fucking stupid. The fact that he can play every single game and score 30 fucking points is dumb. 34 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 14 of 22. I mean, Jesus. Damian Lillard, 31 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 9 of 16. I mean, back-to-back games for the Bucks to shoot over 40% from 3, over 50% from the field. I mean, that's just great stuff. They did have a pretty high turnover number in this game, which I didn't like. They shot really well from the free throw line. Chris Middleton shot 4 of 10, but still had a double-double, 13 points, 11 assists. He was passing the ball really, really well.
And he played good defense.
Yes, he did. Brook Lopez was 1 point away from a double-double. And Malik Beasley again with another 5 3-pointers. The bench took a big step back in this one, but the starters carried, and as they should, right? But the bench needs to get a little bit more consistent. That's probably the one thing that I took away from this.
I agree. So Cavs jumped out to an 8-2 lead. Giannis had a rare missed dunk. Shit happens once in a while. Cavs were getting a lot of second chance points. Cavs had a 14-6 lead early points in the game. Malik Beasley made back-to-back threes, and Jared Allen just having the first half of his life, making short mid-range shots and scoring at the rim, which that he does do often. Got the lead down to 6 at the end of the first quarter, despite it being, bigger. They were up by as much as 9. Cavs went into a zone in the second quarter. The Bucks missed a shot and turned the ball over 3 times. Cavaliers got the lead up to 15 at one point. Giannis and Dame come back in with the lead at 15, immediately go on a 10-0 run.
We were talking about that.
Like that's what the Bucks offense presents.
Yeah.
It's not a situation where like you're putting guys back in and it's like, okay, we gotta grind the lead down. It's like those 2 guys can come back in and it's just like, okay, boom, 2/3 of the lead is gone.
You know the stupid thing I want to talk about something when you're done with this. So let me know when you're done with all your stuff. Also, I just want to add something in. Both those guys are capable of going on 10 runs by themselves.
Oh yeah,
that's what you traded for.
And I'll say Chris is capable of going on 6 to 8-0 runs by himself.
Agreed.
The Bucks to be down 7 at halftime, considering the start of the second quarter, could be a lot worse. And the thing with the first half is Giannis and Malik Beasley had half of the Bucks' points. They had 26 of the 52 in the first half.
Oh my God.
So the Bucks, again, not playing their best and still only down 7.
Yeah.
To what? The Cavs were the 4 seed last year.
Yep. They're the 5
I get
seed.
they have some injuries. I'll give them that. And I will give credit to the Cavs. They tried something that I think worked for them for a little while until the Bucks, and I will give credit to Adrian Griffin for adjusting to this. The Cavs were using Isaac Okoro on Damian Lillard. It's a bigger defender. It was making things harder for him. Damian Lillard scored 31 points in this game, only 7 in the first half. 24 of his 31 came in the second half.
And what's the one thing that I texted you that was cooking?
The pick and roll.
The pick and roll was destroying
in
the second half.
How many times do we say to just like give them time to figure it out? Give them time to figure it out. We're 15 games in. Give them time to figure it out. And they're figuring it out, and they are destroying people.
Yeah.
And then in the third quarter, between Giannis and Dame getting downhill, good things are happening. So Giannis getting downhill, he got himself a dunk and a layup. Chris Middleton getting downhill, kicked it out to Malik Beasley for a 3. That tied the game. Brook Lopez drove to the basket downhill and threw a lob to Giannis.
Bro.
Ass backwards. Like, what's happening?
I loved Giannis's interview and his answer after the game.
He said, we're going to put Dame at the 5 and let Brook Lopez run point guard. Oh, shit. So, Chris Middleton, a good defensive third quarter. He had 2 steals. One of them led to an assist. And one of them led to a layup. Chris Middleton had 10 assists with 6 minutes left in the third quarter.
Damn.
So you talk about when he has a bad shooting game, still affecting the game in a positive way. Absolutely did that amazing in this game.
Very nice.
Okay. The offense just absolutely rolling. The defense was improving, and the Bucks built their lead up to 10 points. Then Bobby Portis hit a 3. Damian Lillard got a 2, and the Bucks went on a 36-14 run.
That's an ass whooping.
They went into the fourth quarter up 12 after coming out of halftime down 7. So the fourth quarter, the first 4 minutes went back and forth. Over the next minute and 17 seconds after that, the Cavs cut the lead down to 6. Actually had it down to 4 at one point. Then Damian Lillard got a tough bucket. Giannis got a spin and slam, got the lead back up to 8. And then after that, it was kind of just a little bit back and forth, and the Bucks made their free throws to close it out. Now, this was the last game of 2023. The Bucks went 11-2 in December. It's the best record in the NBA. This is so stupid. The Bucks in December averaged 131.5 points. Averaged 131.5 points. That is the 4th highest scoring month in NBA history.
Oh, damn.
NBA history, the entire history of the NBA. This isn't just, the most points this season or the most points since the year 2000 or the most points since the three-point line. This is the 4th most points in a month in NBA history.
Wow. And that's with people not being terrified of us.
Dude, shut up that the Bucks took a step back on defense. We know that. They took 4 steps ahead on offense.
Maybe 5.
Their biggest weakness over the last 2 years in the playoffs was half-court offense, and they are destroying people at it. They took their biggest weakness and made it their biggest strength, and all people want to talk about is that they took one of their bigger weaknesses or one of their bigger strengths, and now it's kind of a weakness, something that they need to work on. Not talking about the fact that the Bucks could not score against Miami in 4 of the 5 games, and that without Chris Middleton, Giannis couldn't outscore the Boston Celtics by himself. And now the Bucks are murdering teams with their offense. Top 5 in league history for a month.
That's nuts.
Shut up about the defense. That's the negative perspective where they're like, oh, we're only going to focus on what they got worse at and not talk about how amazingly better they are on offense than they have been in the last 2 years. It's not even close. We just talked about Malik Beasley, the number 2 3-point shooter in the entire NBA. Chris Middleton having amazing efficiency games, back-to-back double-doubles, averaged 9 assists for a week. I mean, we can get into this Pacers game. Damian Lillard had probably his worst shooting game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bucks lost by 9. They lost by 9. The bench got outscored by 54.
Yeah.
Indiana had 70 bench points. The Bucks had 16. The
Yep.
Bucks bench got outscored by 54 points, and they lost by 9 to one of the best offenses in the NBA.
The team with the fastest pace.
They lost by 9. Dude, people got to chill out and just be like, oh, the Bucks, they lost to Indiana for the 3rd time.
Bro, I saw a comment. A guy said, I've seen enough. Give me Indiana in a playoff series. Excuse me? Excuse me? What did you just fucking say? Did you just shit yourself all over the internet? You fucking dumb shit?
Ooh. Not in a 7-game series.
I'm gonna be so serious. I really hope we get Indiana in the playoffs.
Yikes.
They are a nice team. They are fun to watch.
Up and coming.
They are not fucking ready for a storm of playoff Giannis. I can promise you that.
They're not ready for a regular season Giannis.
I can promise you that. You think regular season Giannis is giving them problems?
Dude, they threw 2 defenders at him the entire night, and he had a triple-double.
When he flips that fucking switch, he's one of the all-time best players of all time. Of all the NBA history. One of the most unguardable human beings ever created by God. When he flips a fucking switch, it's done for Miles Turner.
Dude, I just said it. The bench outscored the Bucks bench by 54, and Damian Lillard shot 3 of 16 from the field. And you won by 9 points. You won by single digits with your bench beating the Bucks bench by 54 and Damian Lillard shooting 3 of 16.
We got a Bucks game starting here in about probably 15 minutes time, 12 minutes till 6 till.
You want to bet me $1,000 that Damian Lillard doesn't shoot 3 for 16 and the Bucks bench doesn't get outscored by 54 again?
I would say that Damian Lillard is more likely to get 40 points than he is to go 3 of fucking 16 again.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
100%. Now,
so first quarter.
Give me a breakdown.
Okay.
And then give your breakdown. Then I have a couple questions I want to ask you.
So first quarter, you already mentioned it. Malik Beasley hit his 1,000th career 3. Good for him.
Yep.
Yeah, I hope he hits another 1,000 before the season's over. He's probably going to shoot that many. Into the second quarter, the Bucks got off to a slow start, and they were trying to force some passes. This is something I've brought up before, is when the Bucks are shooting slow, you can't compound it with turnovers.
Yeah.
And it's not something where I want the Bucks to be conservative, but when you're not shooting well, you need to slow the ball down, and just kind of play the half court offense a little bit more instead of trying to force transition and then getting sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I would challenge the Bucks to do, is to recognize when you're shooting poorly and slow some possessions down and work to get a good shot. That's something that I would challenge the Bucks for. The Pacers' quick offense tied the game despite the Bucks having a 15-point lead in the first quarter. Chris Middleton started heating up in the second quarter. My thing with this is, and I've already mentioned the bench scoring, but the Bucks role players, they got to make their open threes. I have some bench stats that I'm going to give in a second, but the Pacers also getting too many offensive rebounds, built a 6-point lead in the second half. Third quarter, shout out Chris Middleton. He got a crazy offensive rebound and a putback.
Yeah.
The ball was like in, I don't remember which Pacer it was like kind of in the palm of his hand. Chris Middleton slapped it down, palmed it, and then kind of like scooped it under his hand and put it in the basket. Like that was wild that Chris did that. That was awesome. Brad said the Bucks win tonight and leave with the game ball. That would be amazing if they took the game ball away from
Oh,
Indiana.
that would be so funny.
It'd be hilarious and petty, and I would be here for it.
Halliburton has another 20 assists night, and the Bucks take the game ball.
Yeah, Thanasis scored 2 points this week. He hit 100 career points.
I would die.
Okay. The Bucks at third quarter did hold the Pacers to a lot of one and done. They went on a 13-2 run. Cut the Pacers 13-2 run within 4 points. Giannis then the walk-up threes. This is something that is a major challenge. Jake, you and I talked about this a lot yesterday. The Bucks were up 13 points, and Giannis walks into a three with like 20 seconds left on the shot clock. And it's one of those things where it's like, dude, you are amazing. Absolutely amazing. The best player in Bucks franchise history, without a doubt. A top 20 player in the NBA already, all time. This isn't your game, dude.
Yeah.
I love you, Giannis, but this is something where it's like, you got to just recognize like what your game is, and walking into threes with 20 seconds left on the shot clock. That's Damian Lillard's game. That's not your game.
Yep.
I'm sorry. And I would hope that his coaches are challenging him on this too, and not just being like, well, I'm Giannis, I'm going to do what I want. I don't think Giannis is that type of person.
No.
Or it's just like, hey, you got to check him a little bit. Like, that's not your game. Play your game, because the Pacers can't stop your game.
Agreed.
Now, the Bucks, their lead kind of just crumbled after that. There was a 13-point lead at that point when Giannis pulled that pull-up three. They were up by 4 points going into the fourth quarter. The Bucks opened the fourth quarter in zone, and the Pacers scored 3 times and took the lead. Chris and Giannis went and got the lead back, but Giannis took another 3 after that. And the Pacers took the lead back, and I don't think they gave it back. I think the lead was kind of 2, 4, 6. The Bucks got cold, and the Pacers either scored or got a couple foul calls. And then one of the stupidest foul calls that I've seen for Chris Middleton boxing TJ McConnell out of a ball that was going out of bounds. One of those things that they're never going to call in the middle of a quarter, but because it's late in the game, they're going to call it. And TJ McConnell just jumping into the stands and getting a foul call for it. That's a hustle play by TJ McConnell. I respect that part of it. But giving him a foul call for that is wild.
I hate that fucker so much.
It's annoying. And yes, Damian Lillard was cold, and it's unfortunate. But again, I want to go back to the Bucks bench. Points, threes, free throws. Points. Indiana, 70. Milwaukee, 16. 3-pointers. Indiana, 2 for 13. Milwaukee, 1 for 9. I'll call that a push. And then free throws. This is fucking stupid. Free throws. Indiana's bench, 20 of 26. Milwaukee, 3 for 3. Indiana's bench shot as many points or free throws as our entire team.
Yep.
That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I agree.
What are your thoughts?
So I just have a couple questions.
Okay.
Don't have anything about the game. It's a bad game. It happens. You had bad moments, teaching moments. You learn from. You move on. Luckily, I mean, this is a blessing in disguise, right? You have a poorly executed game plan against a team that has kind of been a thorn in your side this season. And after having a poor performance, you got to play them again. So it is a little bit kind of like the playoffs, except it's really not. But, you get to kind of right your wrong right away. You don't have to wait a few weeks or a month to do it, right? And we get to do it in their house. So, I'm just gonna say this. I have a question, and then I have a statement that me and you have talked about.
Okay.
So, Griffin, this is the one thing that kind of grinds my gears is I get my Peter Griffin on here.
You know what grinds my gears?
Why does he wait so long to get Giannis and Dame back in the game? It happens every second quarter, and I understand that Dame plays the entire first quarter. That's something that he requested. Giannis comes out with usually like 3 minutes, 4 minutes sometimes, 2 minutes sometimes in the first quarter, and then he sits down. He has a TV timeout for the break, and then they usually don't come back into like the 6-minute mark of the second quarter. Now, they were dominating in this Pacers game, and they built a double-digit lead. When you see the Pacers get a little bit of momentum, when you see Bobby Portis not making the same impact, I'm sorry, and I really am. I'm sorry. There's a 7-footer on your bench from Greece. Put him back in, okay? He can withstand it. He could tread water by himself with Chris Middleton. They've been together forever. Everybody talks about them just giving each other a look and they can understand what's going on. You put him back in. When Dame is then ready to go back in after the next TV timeout, Damian Lillard enters the game.
Yeah.
The one thing that Griffin has to figure out is the substitution thing.
But
I'm going to give him time. I'm not going to say that this is what it's going to be like 2 months from now. It's not. He's going through stuff, and we have some injuries, and things are still going to change. You know, we've talked about it. We're going to acquire people at the trade deadline.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to say about that. You have thoughts on that?
Yes. So my thoughts on that is we talked about not only the new coaching staff, but also the roster turnover.
Yeah.
So obviously 2 new starters this year. So my first thought on that is the roster turnover. You see a lot of times the assistant coaches having that sheet of paper in their hand all the time. Mm-hmm. It would not surprise me if they kind of had some timestamps of kind of when they're putting guys back in.
Yeah.
And they're going to adjust it. They're going to play with it.
Yeah.
They're going to change rotations and be like, okay, you know, and they have guys that can sit and look at these numbers all day, every day. We want to be those kind of guys in the future. But you can look at it and say, we are being outscored from the 11-minute mark to the 8-minute mark of the second quarter while Giannis and Dame are on the bench by 25 points over the course of the season. We are minus 25 from the 11-minute mark to the 8-minute mark of the second quarter. We need to kind of stagger some of those minutes to try to make this chunk of game where we're being outscored by 25 smaller.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to stagger it, whether it be Giannis, Dame, Chris, you know, however, and sit and look at those things. And that's, like I said, that's stuff that you and I want to do. We want to look at that, you know, insanely zoomed in and figure out, you know, what's causing this. And, you know, Bobby Portis doesn't shoot well, you know, from this range to this range when he's being guarded by a player taller than him, things like that, and playing those matchups and figuring out what those tendencies are and where guys thrive and where they struggle. And then figuring out how to fix those things and what to put the guys in the best positions to succeed. That's what coaching staffs are for. That's why there's 8 assistant coaches on the bench. They have all of these players that do different things. And Brad said you have to build up the bench somewhere on the schedule. We'll need those bench players. And and here's the thing. Like, we've seen Bobby Portis score 30. We've seen him put up doubles basically 3/4 of the games like he did last year.
Yep.
We've seen Campaign score 15, 18 points and have 6 assists. It just comes down to consistency more than anything, really.
Yep.
And Marjan Beauchamp, it seems like he's kind of been dealing with a little bit of injuries and illnesses. Andre Jackson he's a very raw rookie, so expecting him to be in the starting lineup every single game and always playing the exact same is unrealistic. He's raw. He's going to need time to develop. Pat Connaughton, Jake just mentioned, you got to give him a little bit of time to get back to the NBA conditioning. And again, it's sorry, but it requires patience.
It does.
And then we are probably still about 2.5 weeks away from Jay Crowder realistically being back. But again, that's just another guy who's giving you reinforcement. And then it just comes down to consistency. Like, we know that Pat Connaughton is capable of shooting a high percentage on threes.
Yeah.
We know that he can do it in the playoffs. It's just going to take time to figure some of these things out. And again, like I said, it's going to take just incremental improvements. It doesn't all need to get better in the course of one game from Monday to tonight, and then it's not ever going to be a problem again. It's always going to be perfect. It's not. And Michael said Payne does a good job when he's in there. A little too quick of a trigger at times, though. That's just one of those things he's got to figure out, too.
Yep. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. And you can go back to the second half of the Cavaliers game because it perfectly demonstrates what I'm about to say. If we want Damian Lillard, and this is going to sound crazy after what I just said about Giannis, we have to take the ball out of Giannis's hands a little bit as a ball handler. One, like we've talked about, it'll take away from those pull-up three-pointers because those are fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry. You're 7 foot 250, and I don't mean to sound like a freaking boomer right now, but get your fucking ass in the paint. You're unguardable down there. I've seen you dunk on 3 people at one time with your left hand in the NBA Finals. 2, Damian Lillard with the ball in his hands, running pick and roll with Giannis is absolutely the best move for this offense. It allows Damian Lillard to get into a rhythm. He's still a tremendous playmaker. We saw it in the Indiana game.
His passing this week was nuts.
Dude, he freaking drove to the rim from the left side, fake pass, and then bounce past. I was like, oh my God.
He did that behind the back, too.
Yeah.
He drove with his left hand to the left side. Brook cut down the middle of the paint. He threw a behind the back pass to Brook for a layup.
Yeah, that was nuts. So if we want Portland Dame, we have to put the ball in his hands a little bit more and just let him cook. You let Giannis be the best second option in NBA history.
And this is strictly in the half court we're talking here.
Yes.
We're talking like on inbounds. If Giannis and Dame are both in the game at the same time, don't inbound the ball to Giannis. Obviously, if Dame's being face guard and you have to get the ball in. But just in regular inbounds. Transition, get the ball to Giannis first. Absolutely. Let him get the ball in transition and go. But just bringing the ball up the court, that's what Damian Lillard's here for.
So, right. And like basically what I'm saying is we need to play more to our players' strengths, right? We need to let our roster be our roster. We're constructing it this way for a reason. Let Damian Lillard be the point guard. Let him set everybody else up. Let him shoot when he needs to shoot, when he feels comfortable. And then you know what? This could be something with those staggering minutes, right? You still want Giannis to have the ball and be able to be a playmaker. Put him in a couple minutes early when Dame's not in the game and let him get cooking. If that's how he gets a feel for the damn ball, let him get the feel for the ball. When Dame comes back in now, he feels it.
You know what that does too is when he is feeling it, like you're saying, when Damian Lillard comes back in and Giannis is on a 10-0 run by himself, all the attention's on Giannis. There's no eyes on Dame.
Yeah.
So all of those, you see it. They call it out on the broadcast all the time. Where Marcus is drawn on a play and he's like 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of eyes on Giannis, or 1, 2, 3 guys building a wall. And it's like that's how Malik Beasley is scoring so much.
Yeah, I know. He's wide open in the corner.
And you can do it with Damian Lillard.
Yeah, 100% you can. So I just want to put the ball in Dame's hands a little bit more. Let him be the point guard. I mean, Giannis has even said it. I'm going to let him be the point guard at the start of the season. So let's let him be the point guard. Giannis, you dominate in the paint. Also, with the energy that he saves from not having to handle ball handling abilities, he can help on the defensive end a little bit. There's a lot of positives in this. So let's just play to our player strengths. Let's go get a W against Indiana tonight. I'm ready.
Yeah. Indiana tonight, then San Antonio, Houston, Utah. I'm going to say 3-1. I'm going to say they lose to Houston because I believe it is the second of a back-to-back. So, Tim, have a good week. Let's go Bucks. Jake?
San Antonio is tomorrow night. So San Antonio is the second half of the back-to-back. We play Houston on Saturday and then
Utah on Monday.
Utah's weird. I'll say 3-1 as well. I can see them losing to Houston either way. But next week's show, we're going to talk about a game that's going to happen on TNT on next Thursday against Boston. Another measuring stick game. That one's in Milwaukee, though. But let's take care of business this week.
All righty. We will be back Friday night, Jake and I, and Mike Spofford as well on Friday night to talk about the Packers win over the Vikings and their matchup with the Bears. So we will see you then. Until then, have a good week.
Let's go.